The great Chazon Ish, Zechrono Levrocha, when he arrived in Eretz Yisrael from Vilna. So the very first Rosh Hashanah, he davened in the Beis Medrash, which was known as the Devardik Beis Medrash. The Gabbai, the Bishul, was named Reb Matisyahu Shazigal, came over to the Chazon Ish, and he asked him maybe to say a few words before Tekiyah Shofar. Now, if you know anything about the great Chazon Ish, he was the Poisek Hador, and he was the Godel Hador, but he was not known as being a public speaker because this is something that he stayed away from. This is not what the Chazon Ish did. But yet, being that he was pressured, it was his first Rosh Hashanah that he was in Eretz Yisrael in Bnei Brak, and the Gabbai literally said to him, it's very important that Adam Choshev like yourself, who has come here from Europe, you are now in Eretz Yisrael, please say a few words. And the Chazon Ish says, okay, but I will only speak, he said, for about 2 or 3 minutes. And basically what the Chazon Ish is, merely he repeated a Mishnah, Mesechtes Avos, Perik Vov. The Mishnah tells us a little episode, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma. Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma said, Pamachas hayisi malach baderech, it was one time that was walking on the road, Upaga biyod mechad, and I met a certain person. V'nosan li shalom, v'chzarti li shalom, he gave me shalom aleichem, and I gave him back shalom aleichem. V'yom ali, and the person asked me, Rebbe, me'eze mokemata, from where do you come from? Umarti lo, said Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, I came ir gedoyla malei chachomim v'soifrim. I come from a city that has a lot of Talmidei Chachomim. Omali, so the Yid said to me, Rebbe, Ritzoincha shetoder b'mkoimenu, maybe you would like to come and live with us in our city, relocate. V'niyet lecha elef alf elofim, dinre zov, avonim toivis margolius, I'll give you all the money in the world, Rebbe. Come and live with us. Omarti lo, so I said to the Yid, Imata noisenli kol kesev v'zov shebeyolam. Even if you give me all the money in the world, Eini dor ele b'mokim Torah, I will only live in a mokim Torah. And when the Chazon Ish came to that phrase, Eini dor ele b'mokim Torah, he repeated it many, many times. And he said, Eini dor ele b'mokim Torah, I will not live only in a place that's a mokim Torah. Eini dor ele b'mokim Torah. The idea was because when the Chazon Ish came to Bnei Brak, it was around the 1933 or so. At that time, Bnei Brak was far from what you see it today. Bnei Brak was really in its infancy stage and was just beginning to be being built, and yeshivas slowly and slowly were just becoming part of what Bnei Brak is. It was far from a real Mokim Torah, and therefore the Chazon Ish said, if I'm expected to live here and to stay in Bnei Brak, it can only be Eini Dorel B'Mokim Torah if it becomes a true Mokim Torah. It's important to note that we are living here in a time where learning Torah education is not simply a nice thing, is not simply a mitzvah, but rather it's not even a luxury. But learning Torah b'zman hazeh is really essential. Without Torah, Rabbi Sai, you cannot really be a Yid. Many, many years ago, over 100 years ago, there was the great Goy, and his name was Rabbi Yankiv David Ridbaz. Ridbaz was someone who was familiar, who wrote a Pirush on the Yerushalmi. He was someone who was really a Baki in Bavli Yerushalmi, tremendous Goyen. He later came to Tzfas and therefore established his yeshiva called Torah Eretz Yisrael. And he was world-renowned, renowned Goyen and tremendous loichem, someone who really fought to defend Yiddishkeit, to defend the halachas of Shemitah in Eretz Yisrael. People think it was the Chazon Ish, it was before the Chazon Ish, to defend the real opportunities and the importance of what it means to keep Shemitah, was the Ridbaz. Unquestionable, one of the great Go'anim of all time. Ridbaz was here in New York over 100 years ago, and he was in the east side because that was basically where the Jewish community was. And he gave a drosha in a shul. It was the year 1906. And the name of the shul it's known as the Pike Street Shul, which is a landmark today. And Ridbaz said over 100 years ago, there used to be communities. The youth communities in Europe and other places, where they're small communities, they were known to be mitzvah yidden. Mitzvah yidden means the yidden that they kept mitzvahs, but they were not Talmidei Chachomim. They kept Shabbos, there was Shmir Shabbos, there was Kashrus, there was Taharas HaMishpacha. They were mitzvah yidden, but they were not, unfortunately, they were not Talmidei Chachomim. Yes, they were Mechaber Talmidei Chachomim, but they themselves were not Talmidei Chachomim. Says the Ridbaz, today there's no such thing as being just a mitzvah yid. Today, in our time, when I say in our time, Ridbaz said that over 100 years ago, and certainly today. Today, in our time, says Ridbaz, either a Torah yid or no yid at all. To survive as a Jew here in America and in our time, if you're not connected to Torah, then you can't be a Yid. It's not just a Maila, it's not just something extra to be a Talmid Chacham. Today, stam to be a mitzvah Yid. If you don't have Torah, it will not have a kiyum, it will not have durability. And explained it as follows. When the Pasuk tells us in Mishlei, Ner mitzvah v'Torah or, that a mitzvah is like an air, it's like a candle. And Torah is an or, Torah is like a fire, Torah is like a flame. So he explained the following. A mitzvah is like an air, which means to say, if you have a candle, if you light a candle, it's able to burn quite efficiently, but only if the windows are closed and you don't have winds blowing in. When a candle is confined to the daled amos of your house, if it's protected by the four walls, then a candle is able to burn. Ner mitzvah. A mitzvah is like an air. You want to be a mitzvah yid? Then you have to live in the same way like a candle, meaning to say, you have to live in an isolated area where basically you're not exposed to the elements. You don't have the wild winds. You don't have the foreign hashkafas blowing into your house. You're not affected by the outside. Then you could be a mitzvah yid. However, he says, today we're living in a time where the moment you go out onto the street, he said it over 100 years ago, we're exposed to what's happening. There's Yeridas Adoros, even then already. The Noach Oelbaum, even the better Noach Oelbaum already. There was preachers in many, many areas. The life was not as it used to be. Modernity, technology exposed us to the outside world, which means we cannot live in isolation. You cannot be a mitzvah yid because when you have the windows open, so to speak, when you're exposed to the outside world, the mitzvah will not protect you. But Torah is or, Torah is like a fire. What is a fire, Rabbi Yisai? You know what a fire is? When you have Chaz v'Shalom, when a house gets on fire and there's a wind blowing, not only the wind is not successful in extinguishing the fire, Adrab, just the opposite. The more that the wind blows, the fire is misgaber and is able to overpower. The fire enhances itself with all the strength to be able to blow even stronger, to burn even stronger. And ultimately, the wind promotes and increases the power of the fire. Torah is the same thing. Torah is like a fire. When you're exposed to the outside world, but you have the koyach of Torah protecting you, the Torah is like an eish, which is a fire which is able to overcome all the different types of challenges. So living in a time of today, we understand when might have been possible years ago just to be a simple mitzvah yid. Today is not such thing. Either you are a Torah yid, or otherwise not going to be able to survive simply as a mitzvah yid. A Torah life is essential. This is the core and the foundation of a Jewish life. And the truth is, if you look around yourself and you see the surroundings, you find it's even more. Without Torah, not only you can't be a yid, you can't even be a mensch. Look at society, you see all the crime, you see the degradation of society, how lower society has fallen. We're living now, Rabbi Yisai, we're living in the 21st century. We're living supposedly in the highest point of civilization. And yet, look at the Yeridas Adoros. We see how the world outside behaves. There's no such thing. There's nothing sacred anymore. There used to be a line where Toivim Sheba Umois knew that you don't cross that line. Even areas of modesty, there were certain things that even the better Noach Oelbaum understood, that to raise families, there is something that you have to preserve. There's something that's called morality. There's something called ethics. Today it's all gone. And therefore, even to survive as a mensch, just to be a human being, if you don't have Torah, if you're not controlled, if you're not connected to a higher power, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not possible to exist. And therefore I conclude with the following. There are many, many mitzvahs that bring you a lot of schar. But there's no greater schar that a person will receive by being machzik Torah, by supporting Torah. By supporting Torah, the Chofetz Chaim says, it compounds, it magnifies. There's no mitzvah that will yield an investment of schar as supporting Torah. And therefore the opportunity is, as Rav Yankel Galinsky, one of the Choshev Balamusar from Eretz Yisrael, the Chayil of Rocha, he once asked the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish, he says, we find many times there are people going around collecting money for Torah. You come into a person who is a Gevir, who's a rich man, and for some reason he pushes you off. He says, don't come today, come tomorrow. So Yankel Galinsky asked the Chazon Ish, what is he going to gain by tomorrow? So I'll come tomorrow. So why doesn't he give it today? Why is he saying come tomorrow? The Chazon Ish said, you know why? Because not everybody has the schus to support Torah. It's very possible that Gevir, that rich man, Shemaim does not give him the schus today to support Torah. So they put into his mind to say, come tomorrow. Why is it better tomorrow? Because by tomorrow, he will have davened another 3 Shemona Esreis. and Mele, he would have additional schus of the Shemon Esrei. Maybe he needed that extra schus to support Torah. You have to realize, Rabbi Isai, not everybody is zoiche to support Torah. Many people think it's because they don't want to. If you're not worthy, Shemayim will not allow you. But the truth is, Torah has to be learned with an erlichkeit with Yireh Shamayim. Torah is not simply like studying any other type of a chokhmah. Torah is chokhmat Hashem. It's not like lahavdil studying science. It's not like studying medicine or studying philosophy. But Torah needs to be learned with an erlichkeit. It has to be connected with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the truth is, to be successful and to have hatzlocha in limud HaTorah, it is important that it is what's called an erlich Torah. It's a Torah that's connected with Yireh Shamayim. Let me give you just a small example. At the time of Kabbalah Torah, of course everybody knows it took place at Har Sinai. But there is a medrash brought down in Yalkut Raveni. Yalkut Raveni tells us something fascinating, as a matter of fact incredible. That at the time of Matan Torah, Kodesh Baruch Hu went and took the Har HaMoriah. The Har HaMoriah, as we know, is the place of the Akedah Yitzchak. Kodesh Baruch Hu uprooted the Har HaMoriah and he brought it right next to Har Sinai. Which means is that at the time of Matan Torah, there were two mountains there. Not everybody's aware of that, because we always talk about Har Sinai. But Chazal tell us, as mentioned again, the Medrash in Yalkut Ravenu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took Har HaMoriah and he brought it next to Har Sinai. Why? Why was it important to have these two mountains side by side at the time of Matan Torah? The Chassam Sofer, and he says, Edover Nifla Ma'oid. Some Sofer says, the truth is the following. What is the difference between these two mountains? Between Har Sinai and Har HaMoriah. Har Sinai, of course, is the mountain of Torah. That's the mountain that HaKadosh Baruch Hu came down and gave the Torah to Klal Yisrael. What is Har HaMoriah? Har HaMoriah is the place of Yireh Shamayim. What does it say after the Akedah? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avraham Avinu, Ke ato yadati ke yirei Elokim ato. Now I see that you are Yireh Shamayim. So Har HaMoriah represents Yireh Shamayim. Har Sinai represents Torah. Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted to show Klal Yisrael that we have Har HaMoriah right next to Har Sinai to tell us that Torah without Yireh Shamayim is not a Torah. In order to have Torah, it has to be pure Torah. Torah that is learned by Kedusha v'Tahara. And therefore Kodesh Baruch Hu, in order to show us this message, he brings Har HaMoriah right next to Har Sinai, that we have Yireh Shamayim and we have Torah together. That all the brachas we should be blessed that are mentioned in the Torah, Oirech Yomim b'Yamino, to have Reiches Yomim, B'Smoila Oish v'Kovat, Simcha v'Nachas from our family. We should Zoiche to Shefa Bracha v'Atzlocha, Abiyaz Goyel Tzedek b'Mehero b'Yemenu. Amen.